Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning a blues-inspired tune. Now, the idea behind this week's lesson and next week's lesson, which if you're watching in the future, you can click this link right here to check out next week's lesson, was that I wanted to create a songwriting series. So these two lessons both use different approaches for writing your own music. Now, this song uses approach number one, and approach number one is going to be basically copy and paste a melody from a song that you love and use that as your springboard for writing a song around it. So, for example, this tune by Ry Cooder, I'll put the name right there. This is a really beautiful blues tune, and it has this part in it that I literally just copied and pasted and used as our intro for this tune. So you hear that in that tune. If you go listen to that tune, you'll hear that melody line. And the idea for me was to take that melody line and use that as the inspiration to write the rest of the tune around. And the idea behind this concept is that it makes it a lot less scary when you start approaching songwriting if you have a platform to write from. So it gives you a little bit of inspiration, because if you think about writing your own music, most of the time it's like, let's start from point zero, from blank. So this gives you a springboard and makes it just a little bit less daunting of a task, especially once you start writing songs. And also helps if you've been writing for a while and you fall into writer's block. This is kind of a cool way to get out of that. So you can draw from inspiration of songs you love and then go take it from there. So let's talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, we're going to learn the entire arrangement. Now, if you want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records as a PDF format, that will be available at this link right here, or you can go to the site, rockclass101.com, and do a search for the name of the song. I haven't figured out the name yet, but due to the magic of time-lapse and video editing, I'll put the name right there. Now, also on that page will be the on-screen tab viewer. Now, this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a really great asset for learning this tune that much easier. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into learning it. So there's a couple things we need to cover really quick before we jump in. Number one, we're in 4/4. But we have a swung eighth note fill, so you've got to swing your rhythm. Now, if you're new to understanding the difference between playing straight eighth notes and swung eighth notes, check out this link. I'll also put it in the description box below. It breaks down both fills in complete detail. And the other thing I want to talk about is the right hand. So throughout this song, we pretty much stick out of a 3-finger approach for finger picking. That's going to mean that our thumb gets string 4 and string 3, index would get string 2, middle would get string 1. So that's pretty much the gold standard approach for playing this tune. Now, the other thing we're going to be talking about as we work through it is the fill. So it's a really important song for getting a lot of these staccato hits and getting this like sharp blues feel. So we'll talk about that as we go through it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play just the intro, and then we'll break it down and learn it. Okay, so let's tackle just that. So again, this was the part that I took from Ry Cooder's tune, and this was my springboard into writing the rest of the song. So this is going to start on a pickup bar. So we're actually going to start on beat 4. So when you're counting this, you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and so you want to count that full measure and then start on beat 4. So it's only 2 notes. So we're literally going to do a chromatic walk up. We're going to go 2nd fret on string 3 to the 3rd fret. And then starting the first measure of the tune is going to be an open E. So it's literally a chromatic walk up. 2, 3, but we're going to hit the open E because that'll buy us time to move our hand up to grab the 10th fret, which is going to be a partial bar. So I want you guys to take that index finger, lay it on the 10th fret, strings 1 and 2. Okay, you're going to start with string 2 and then string 1. So if we tie that pickup bar into these first few notes of measure 1, we have Okay, so that's what I want you to practice for right now. So you have string 3, 2, 3, the open E, and then lay flat with the first finger on 10th fret. String 2, string 1. Ba, do, da, do, da. Remember, swung eighth notes. 4 and 1 and 2. Okay, after that, keep this partial bar intact. Use the ring finger to play 12 on string 1, and then lift it up and play 10 again. That's going to be a quarter note for that last hit. Okay, a good rule of thumb too, if you can sing it, you can play it. Da da dum ba da da da. So we have 2 notes to add ba ba, or technically 2 beats. Ba ba. So we're going to do a double stop, which means we're playing 2 notes at the same time. So take that index, lay flat on 7, strings 1, 2, and 3, although we're only playing on string 3 and 2. So use the ring finger to go onto the 9th fret of string 3, and the middle finger to go onto the 8th fret of string 2. All while keeping the bar intact, this index finger. Now anytime you're doing partial bars, which means covering 3 or 2 strings, or full bars, which would be covering all 4 strings, it's really important that you have proper form. It's not only form in front of the neck, it's also form behind the neck. What is your thumb doing behind the neck? So if you're new to having proper form and really studying what you're doing with the left hand, I'll put a link in the description box below to our lesson on developing proper form. It's going to cover these partial and full bar chords in complete detail. So check that out if you need a recap on anything bar related. Now, going back to this, we had flat on 7, 9, and 8. So I want you to pluck 3 and 2, which is 9 and 8. But with this pluck, I want you to do a staccato pluck. Ba. So it's literally going to be ba. Don't sustain it. Ba. We need a staccato hit. So anytime you do a staccato, the fingers are going to lift up. Okay, so your fingers, all 3 of these fingers, are going to lift up off the strings. Almost like if you were muting, doing like a muted strum. So ba. So that gives you that ba, staccato attack, which cuts the sustain. Ba, ba. Okay, because we're going to do the next hit, which is flat on 7, strings 3 and 2. That's going to sustain. So you get a cool sound. Ba, ba. Right, you can hear the latter sustains. Da, da. And the former is staccato. So if we put all of that together, that gives us the pickup plus measure 1. Okay, let's see if we can try it together. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Now to finish up this intro, we have 1 measure, and it's going to sound like this. Okay, so let's just take that. That's actually half of the measure, because the ending of this measure is going to start the theme 1. So let's just take the first half of this second measure. So we left off with flat on 7. We're going to keep the index finger where it is. And all I want you guys to do is to play string 4, which is open, then string 3, and then take that pinky, put it on 10 on string 1. And you can see I put the chord graph there. We're just playing out of a G chord. Okay? So take a second and get comfortable with that chord. But literally we're just going 4, 3, and then pluck 2 and 1. Okay? And you're going to sustain that out for a beat and a half. 1 and 2, 3. And then we'll go into the little triplet, which we can think of as the pickup going into theme 1. Right? So kind of like 2 pickups in this tune. But let's just try 4, 3, pluck. Okay, let's try together. Ready, go. 4, 3, pluck. So if we backtrack, let's try from the pickup into bar 1 and 2. So the first half of beat of bar 2. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Triplet. So you can hear that G chord sustains, and it will lead us into the pickup for the next part. Okay, and that pickup for the next part, playing into the first bar of theme 1, sounds like this. Okay, and I played into the first note of the next measure. But again, this is a really catchy melody that we're playing. Ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da, la-da-da. Right, so if you can sing it, you can play it. So this kicks off at the end of bar 2. We're going to do a triplet. Okay, so it's an 8th note triplet. An 8th note triplet spans the time frame of 1 quarter note. So if you think of measure 2, we had 1 and 2, 3, triplet. That triplet starts on beat 4. But I want you guys to think of it kind of as a pickup going into theme 1. Okay? So we're starting on beat 4 of bar 2, triplet, and we're literally just going to be playing with our first finger on the 2nd fret of string 3. Play that note, the open E, and then the open G. So we have triplet. Now if you're new to playing 8th note triplets and you need a breakdown of how that rhythm works, then I'll put a link to a lesson that I did that really breaks it down in complete detail. So check that out if you're new to playing triplets. So again, we have triplet, and from here we're going to be going into a G chord. This will kick off theme 1. So let's learn this chord shape first. So we're going to use the middle finger to play the 7th fret of string 3, ring finger is underneath the 7th fret of string 2, index is on 5 on string 1. And our G string is going to be open. Okay, so get comfortable with this chord shape. So hit pause if you haven't done it before and get comfortable with that. Now watch how I go into this 3rd measure. Okay, so this is really important. We have triplet. I'm going to be sliding into that chord shape with the middle finger. So I'm going to be sliding 5 to 7 on string 2. Okay, at that point, I'm going to be adding my index finger onto the 1st string, 5th fret, moving that middle finger that I slid up with directly up to the 7th fret of string 3, and then adding the ring finger underneath it. Okay, so you can see we formed the chord. Triplet, slide with the middle, index goes down, middle goes up, ring goes down. We get the G chord. Okay, so take a little bit of time with that. Now if you want, you could even slide with the ring finger. And that will make less work for the left hand. So triplet, slide, that way you only have to add the 1st and the middle finger down. So if you like that more, you can do that. For me, it just felt a little bit more natural to do the 1st way. But in essence, what we have is triplet 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, so just straight up 8th notes for this first part of bar 3. So I'm going to be sliding on beat 1, 5 to 7, adding the index finger for the end of 1, making that G chord, strumming down for beat 2, and then hitting string 1 for the end of 2. So I have triplet 1 and 2 and 3. But I can do it in a strum-like approach. So check out the right hand. Triplet, slide, up, down, up, down. So remember, the rule of thumb for playing 8th notes is that you strum down on the downbeat, up on the upbeat. And it's really that simple. Now, even though my strumming approach for going up is going to primarily hit just string 1. So I strum down with the knell of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, but I strum up with the knell of thumb. And usually I only hit string 1 because I like the tonal difference between having a full-on strum and having an up strum that's only 1 note. So it doesn't, it sounds very full, very, I can't think of a better word. It sounds very full if I go up and down hitting all 4 strings. But if I go down hitting just all 4 and up hitting just 1, it breaks up that monotony a little bit. So that's kind of my approach for it. But if you want to hit all 4 strings, to strum up with, then that's totally cool. So again, we have triplet slide, up, down, up, down. Now that last down, I want you to do that staccato hit again. So since we have an open string too, we can use the palm of our hand to touch the strings to mute it as well. Triplet slide, up, down, up, mute. Right? So you can see after I strum, strum, mute, strum, mute. It helps to give it that staccato sound. So let's see if we can try just that. We'll go slow. 1, 2, 3. Triplet slide, up, down, and mute. Okay, one more time without me counting and calling. 1, 2, 3. You can even hit it with a little bit more oomph, right? So you can really attack beat 3. Da 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 ba da ba da ba. Right? So a harder hit. Now, we're going to be resting on the end of 3, and on beat 4, we're going to be starting a triplet. Now, these licks right here, this is kind of why I named this tune, or called this tune out to be a bluesy tune. So these licks are very Hendrix inspired, but they could also be Allman Brothers inspired as well. Like they can be a million of these like classic artists. It just depends how you play them. So for example, if I was to play like a Hendrixy kind of lick, you know, he did a bunch of stuff like that. If you were to do the same kind of, same notes and everything, same little hammer-on pull-off thing, but played a little bit different, sounds more like the Allman Brothers. Sounds a little bit like that. So it just depends on how you're playing these kind of like double stop hammer-on pull-off licks. And it sounds like one artist or another artist. But they're very blues-based. They're very blues-inspired. So that's kind of the whole idea that I had for carrying on the blues feel. So what we've got for this bar sounds like this, though. So we have ba-da-da. Now it is a triplet, but that first hit of the triplet is really a 16th. So you're going triplet. So you're doing hammer-on, da, triplet, triplet. Okay, so let's break that one down. So we're going to start with the index on 9 on string 3, middle on 10 on string 2. And what I want you to do is to pluck that and then hammer on with the ring finger to 11 on string 3. Okay, so get used to that. So that's going to be over the first hit of the 3 triplets, right? Trip. Okay, after that, you're just going to lift the ring finger up, pluck what you already have, which is 9, 10, and then hit the open G for the last of the 3 hits. Triplet. And it's really that simple. So hit pause and just work on that for a sec if it's double stop hammer-ons is a new thing for you. But if we put that entire bar together with the little pickup, which starts on beat 4 of bar 2, we get this. Okay, so let's see if we can try that together. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now going into the next measure, here's the important thing. When you play that open G, that's going to buy you time to move that index finger directly down to the 4th fret of string 3. So you've got to be doing that movement, right, when you hit that open G. Okay, now anytime you have giant jumps like this, the trick is to use the dots as your guide. So most you start with the first dot on the 3rd fret. The next one is on 5, the next one is 7, the next one is 10, and your double dot is 12. So memorize those dots, because if I know that I have to go to fret 4, that's between the first and the 2nd dot. Right? So I keep my eye on the prize, which is the 4th fret. I don't watch my index finger and then slide, like I'm not going like that. You know, I'm not watching my index finger. Instead, I keep my eye where it needs to go and I move my index finger till it meets my eye. So I'm locked onto that 4th fret. So that's the trick with any giant jumps that you may have in any tune you play. Now, here's what this next measure sounds like. Let me play it all the way through. Actually, let me play the first half of it, because the second half is that little pickup kind of bar that starts the riff again. So what do we notice? Bum, ba, ba, da, da. It's the same thing as the third measure, right? Except we're playing out of a different chord. So let's learn the chord. It's going to be an E5. And the thing with this is that it's going to be a really awkward fingering. So it's going to probably take a little bit of practice. Use the index finger on 4 on string 3. Middle finger is going to go above it, 4 on string 4. And then pinky's 7 on string 1. And our E string, open. Okay? Now, here's the trick. When you start this bar, you're going to slide down, grab just string 3 by itself, the 4th fret, with the index finger. After that, you're going to add the middle finger. So the next note is going to be string 4. So you have string 3, string 4, then add the pinky and strum. So watch the movement. I'm going. Okay, so 3, 4, strum. Okay, so you don't have to like form the entire chord right away. You're building it as it goes, right? So that's the way to do this, because it would be too hard to try and grab that that thing in time. You're adding a finger as the music calls for it. Triplet 1 and 2. Okay, after that, we're going to hit string 4 again and then strum. So 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, now the thing with this is that we're really just strumming on beat 2 and beat 3. So I'm going string 3, string 4, strum down for beat 2, hit string 4 again, and then strum down for beat 3. And for beat 3, we can do that same staccato. So that strum and then mute, so it just pops. Okay, so get that feel down. Bum, ba, ba, da, ba. All right, so again, let's see if we can try just bar 4 by itself. Okay, so start with the index. 3, 4, strum, 4, strum, and mute. Here we go. Ready, slow. Okay, now you're going to rest on the end of 3, just like we did in the other measure, bar in measure 2. And then you're going to inject that exact same pickup triplet. Okay, so that's going to literally restart. So you can think of this theme 1 as being pretty much, it's really, we're playing a riff for this first part of it. And the riff is... right, and then it starts again. So and then we'll put in a little variation, but then it goes back to, right? So the riff is literally just playing between the G and that E5, but throwing in some of those bluesy licks in between. So let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can go from the end of bar 2 all the way to bar 3 and bar 4, okay? And we'll stop in the middle of bar 4, so we won't add that little triplet again. But here we go. 1, 2, 3. Nice. All right, so kicking into the 5th measure, it's going to sound like this. So we have pretty much identical. So the end of 4, triplet, slide to G, all that is identical. And then you're going to put a variation at the end of it. Now the variation is going to be a little bit more complex than the other one that we did. And it's also going to be starting before the other one did. So here's the thing. If I start on just the 5th measure, 1 and 2 and 3, right? That's identical. 1 and 2 and 3, da 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 da. We're starting early. So here's the thing. I'll put up the tab here so you can take a look at it. We have 1 and 2 and 3. La triplet. So you see 2 triplets together, but the first triplet is not an 8th note triplet. It is a 16th note triplet. And a 16th note triplet occurs over the time frame of an 8th note. So when you hit that staccato G on B3, you're going to be injecting a 16th note triplet on the end of 3. Okay? And you can see that you're resting on the first hit of the triplet and starting on the second to the third. Now, that's a really hard thing to count, and therefore we could literally just either sing it la da da da, or we can think of it as just calling and triplet, and triplet, and triplet, la da da da. So this is probably one that I would sing. La da 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 da, la da da da. Okay? Or you can count it as 1 and 2 and 3. A triplet. Okay, so you can try both approaches. But let's see if we can learn it. So we're going to be flat on 10, strings 1 and 2, and you're going to hammer on to the 12th fret of string 1. So pluck both strings and then hammer on to 12 on string 1. After that, that's where the 8th note triplet starts. So lift the ring finger up, play string 1, which is the 10th fret, and then use the ring finger to go on 12 on string 2, and then pull off to 10. So again, you're starting with a quick hit on double 10, pluck, hammer on to 12, that's the quick hit, la. After that, lift the ring up, play 10 on 1, use the ring to string 2, 12 to 10, pull off. Okay, so you have, remember, keep that rhythm, la da da da, la triplet, la triplet. You can even go and triplet. You can call it out as end, although end takes a while to say, so maybe a triplet, something like that. But if you put it together, you have 1 and 2 and 3, a triplet. And if I don't count, it sounds like this. Okay, so again, try to sing it, try to count it. That'll help you get it ingrained in your head. But let's see if we can try just the last part. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, if we put the entire bar together with the little pickup, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's the entire 5th bar together. Now, it's going to go back into that E. So exactly the same as before. 1 and 2 and 3. And we have a really easy variation at the end of it. We're just going to slide 7 to 9 on string 1 and then end on 7. Okay, so you have 4 and that 6 bar together. If I count it, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and... So really, really simple change at the end, okay? So let's try that 6 measure. Ready, go. Nice. So that'll give us the first half of this theme 1. So let's backtrack. Let's start it from the end of bar 2. And let's go all the way through those bars. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Now that's the hardest part of this little theme 1. The next part is a walk in the park. So let me play the next measure for you. This is measure 7, and we'll break it down super fast. So the first thing you can hear is all 8th notes. Okay, so it's between 2 chords. We have a C to the G chord. So the C is just going to be partial bar, 3rd fret, string 1 and 2. Middle's on 4 on string 3, open G. I like to do a little strum of string 4 and 3 for the first part. If you want, you can just hit string 3 by itself, and you can just finger pick out of these. But I think it's kind of cool to go string 4 and 3, and then start finger picking. So I'm going to go strum 4 and 3, and then I'm going to play string 2, and then string 1, and then string 2. So I have strum 2, 1, 2. Okay, let's try that. Ready, go. Strum 2, 1, 2. After that, we're going to go to the basic G, but do it as a partial bar. Don't do the traditional way. And there's a reason why. I'll tell you in a second. But literally, we're going to do 3, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so we have strum 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. Okay, now the reason we're doing partial bars is because the next chord uses partial bar. Okay, let's try that 7th measure one more time, then we'll go on to the 8th measure. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Awesome. Lift the middle finger up, move the index a half step up, then take the pinky, add it to 6 on string 2, the ring 5 on string 1. Here we have a B6, although it's technically there's also a 4 in there. 2, 3, 4, 4. So the 4th degree in B flat is in there as well, so it's the 4 and a 6, but usually when we have, these are called color tones, these are called extensions. When we have these color notes in it, we usually just call it by the highest one. So simplified it and just called it B flat 6. But you can hear it's a really interesting sounding chord. You can see it's straight out of that B flat, right? So if I have a G, move it up a whole step, becomes an A, move it up a half step, becomes a B flat. There's your standard triad, but if we add these color tones, the 6 and the 4, then it really, really sounds interesting, right? It gives us a really cool chord characteristic. So if you're new to what I just recapped, moving chords up the neck and all that stuff, then I'll put a link to our lesson on the caged method below. If you have no idea what I'm talking about with the 4th degree and 6th degree, then check out our music theory course. It really jumps deep into music theory, gives you a complete understanding of the fundamentals, and helps to answer some of the questions you may have had, like, why is this a G chord? Like, you know, why is this not a G chord? You know, why does it have to be this fret, this string? You know, starts to answer all those questions you may start to think of, especially when you get to this level of playing. Anyways, going back to this, let me play this measure for you. This is measure 8, and sounds like this in its entirety. So a really cool measure. It's simple from the rhythm up. The rhythm up there, you can see 1 and triplet, 3 and triplet. So not a hard rhythmic bar, but playing out of the chord shape for the first part is a little bit tricky. So again, lay flat on 3rd fret, strings 1, 2, and 3, open G. We have pinky on 6, string 2, ring 5 on string 1. We're going to strum down, lift the ring finger up, play the 3rd fret, which is barred on the 1st string. Then we're going to start our little walk down triplet. It's going to go 6, 5 on string 2. So pinky, then ring finger, and then open G. So we have strum, lift up, 3rd fret of string 1, 6, 5, open G. 1 and triplet. So let's see if we can try that. Ready, go. Okay, from here, we're going to go into the regular G. And for this one, we can do it as the standard G shape. Okay, so you can just do it as the regular G chord shape. But we're going to go strum all 4, hit the open G, and then do another triplet at the end. So add the pinky to the 3rd fret of string 1, pull off, and then hit string 2, fret 3. Strum 4 triplet. Strum 4 triplet. So let's just try the second half. Ready, go. Strum 4 triplet. If you put it together, we've got this, guys. Ready, go. Nice. Let's try one more time. 1, 2, 3, and triplet. 1 and triplet, 3 and triplet. Nice. Now, let's do this. Let's backtrack. We'll try 7 into 8. 1, 2, ready, go. Going into the 9th bar, it's going to be basically variations of what we did for the 7th bar. So back to the C, back to the G, but this time using the bar fingering. Okay, so sounds like this. So the big difference is finger picking out of all of it, plus we're playing nothing but triplet. So triplet, 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 triplet. So the pattern's really easy. 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's it, so memorize that. 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. And then do the same for G. 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. So let's try that. Ready, go. Okay, going into the last bar for theme 1. You can hear the end. We'll start with that little pickup triplet. So let's learn those 3 chords that we're switching between. First one is just a B flat. So partial bar, flat on 1, strings 1 and 2. Middle's on 2nd fret, the D note. And you're just going to pluck 3, 2, and 1. Then go to the stock little, they call this the Hawaiian D7. So I would use 2nd and 3rd. And then we can go to G5 for the last one, right? So think of the basic G, but no first string. And I can use 1 and 2 because that sets us up for going back into that little start of that riff. So 1, 2, 3. Now this G5, we're gonna add a fermata, so we're just gonna hold it out for as long as we wish. Okay, so ba, ba, da, staccato the first 2, hold out for as long as you want for the next one. So let's try those 3 chords. Ready, go. Ba, ba, hold. Right, and then it goes right back into that riff. And that riff is, that starts us off with theme 2, and there's going to be a few little variations on the licks we're playing, but before we jump into that, let's just backtrack. Let's try the last couple bars. So 9, 10, and then we'll try all of theme 1. So 9 and 10, here we go. Ready, go. Okay, and if we backtrack, so we're going to go from the pickup in bar 2 and all of theme 1. 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's basically what theme 1 sounds like. The thing that you want to remember is that G5, that's going to get held out for as long as you want. So keep that in mind when you're playing ba, ba, da, triplet. Right, as we go into theme 2, you can hear it's pretty much the same thing with just variations thrown in for those licks. And that variation for the first one literally adds 1 extra note, but it's going to start early. So if I play from 10 into 11, 11's the first measure of theme 2, triplet 1 and 2 and 3, all that's identical. I'll put the tab up so you can look at the next half, or sorry, the last half. You can see in the last half, it has that same rhythm as we had in that other bar, where it's a 16th note triplet starting on the end of 3, followed by a regular 8th note triplet for beat 4. So you're doing the same as before, so 16th note for the hammer-on, and then pluck, that pluck of 9 and 10 starts the 8th note triplet, followed by the open G. The only difference is we're adding 1 extra note, so you got to slide the index finger down to 6. So remember that open G buys you time to get down to 6. But again, you want to think of it, it's identical rhythm. You want to think of it as this 1 and 2 and 3, a triplet, right? So So 1 and 2 and 3, la da da da. Right, so if you can sing it, you can play it. Just remember that it starts early, starts on the end of the beat 3. So again, we're just going to go 9, 10, hammer on to 11, all the same stuff as before, then just pluck 9, 10, open G. The only difference is we're adding that 6 on string 3. La 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 la, and triple it. Okay, so if we start from, let's start from that. Ready, slow. Triple it, 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, so go back and, play along with me through that, because it is a little bit tricky for this part. It's a little bit harder, but it sounds really cool. Now, the key thing here too that you want to practice is the movement of the index. So we probably want to just practice that like, right? So 6, 4. So remember, when we get to 4, that's going to start that E5 section, and that E5 section is the same. 1 and 2 and 3. Okay? And I guess what we can do from here is take those first couple bars. Let's try it really slow. This is probably going to be the best thing to do. Let's take it from the triplet. We'll try 11 into 12. Here we go, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3. Triple it. Okay, now the end of 12 is going to start the same. Triple it, going into 13. Same first half. Here's the difference for the second half. So you're going to be sliding 10 to 12 on string 1, and then going back to 10 with the index, and then playing 12 on string 2. And 4, and... So it's really that simple. And 4, and... So if you take it from the triplet, you have... Let's try that. 1, 2, 3. Triple it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Now the next measure, 14, is where we start to see a big change in what we're playing. So let's hit pause before we go there. Let's try 11, 12, 13 plus a little pickup before 11. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now 14 into 15. The idea behind this section was for me to write a common chord progression heard in voice leading, which basically means that we're taking one chord, moving to the next chord by keeping a lot of chord tones in common, but changing like 1 or 2 of them by a series of a half or a whole step. So that sounds really complex, but once you see it, it becomes really, really logical and simple to understand. If I take an E minor, so 9 flat on 7, and if I want to go to another chord, I'm just going to get rid of the 9th fret on string 4, and I'm going to replace it with the 8th fret on string 4, and keep 7s all intact. Okay, so you can hear the movement. We have an E minor to an E minor major 7, so it has a minor third, a major 7. Again, I can move down a half step on string 4, flat all on 7, gives me E minor 7, and one more time, 6 flat on 7, gives me E minor 6. So I have a chord movement of E minor to E minor major 7 to E minor 7 to E minor 6. That sounds really cool. Especially if we break it down. Right, a really, really pretty movement. That was the idea behind these next couple bars, was to take that chord progression, and it's roughly based off of that, and to just inject a little bit more fingerstyle and a little bit more substance into it, instead of just going, strumming 4 chords or something like that. So here's what the next 2 bars sound like, but you know the progression that it was based out of now. So sounds like this. So really, really cool stuff, right? Let's break it down. So you're starting with that same E5 chord, right? So same chord we already know, but we're building it as it goes. So start with the 4th fret of string 3, add the middle finger above it, and then add the pinky, and then play the open E. So 3, 4, 1, 2. And if you put it into context from where we left off, that's what it sounds like. La da da, 1 and 2 and. Okay? After this, drop the index finger down a half step. That's the only change. So play string 3. And actually, this is where we're going to start a triplet. So we're going to go string 3, string 4, and then string 1. And that's going to start a slide. So we have triplet, and then slide up with the pinky to 9. Okay, so you have triplet, slide. Okay, after that, you're going to play 7 and then 9 again. Okay, so watch this, and we're going to talk about fingering. Okay, so that entire bar together, 1 and 2 and triplet slide, 7, 9. Okay, so hit pause, work on that slow. Let's see if we can go really slow. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and triplet slide, 7, 9. So when I slide up with that pinky, I'm going to go 7 with the middle finger, then 9 with the ring, okay? 1 and 2 and triplet slide, 7, 9. Those are the 2 fingers I think are best for this part. So let's try again, really slow. 3, 4. Okay, the next measure sounds like this. Okay, so we're going to go 9 to 10 on string 1, slide into that note, that's beat 1. Go to 9, this is all on string 1, so slide 9 to 10, go back to 9 with the middle finger, then back to 7 with the index finger. So all eighths, 1 and 2, and then the last note for this is going to be 10 on string 2. This note we can kind of slide down with, get a cool effect. Kind of like that. So keep pressure, and then you can kind of lift off pressure somewhere around the 5th fret. Right, and it kind of has that doo fade out slide sound. So the first half we have 1 and 2 and. Let's try it. Ready, go. Nice. Now the last half is going to be playing out of this E minor 6. So let's form this chord. It's going to be first finger on the 1st fret string 3, ring on the 2nd fret string 1. So basically the finger picking pattern is probably going to be the hardest because we've got to go 3, 4, 1, and then hitting a harmonic on the 12th fret. So it sounds like that. 3, 4, 1, plucking the harmonic. Now this harmonic is just a plucked harmonic. If you're new to doing this technique, then check out our harmonics course, which is part of our technique series called Technique Toolbox. I'll put a link in the description box below. You can learn the mechanics behind doing all these really cool plucked artificial harmonics. They're really, really cool. So look for the lesson in that course on plucked artificial harmonics, and it'll teach you the mechanics behind doing that if you're new to it. Okay, so if I put that together, I have, you can see that I'm sliding down, starting with just the first, playing the open G, then adding the ring, and then moving my right hand to grab the harmonic, right? So I don't need to go both fingers at the same time. I form the chord when the music calls for it. So same concept again. It's going to make it a lot easier. Slide 9, 7, 10, 1, 4, string 1, harmonic. All right, so let's see if we can try that. Ready, slow. Slide 9, 7, 10. Okay, if we put that entire 14 and 15 together, slow. 3, 4. So that's what we get. Probably one of the hardest measures. So you definitely want to practice those two. But from here, let's do this. Let's not go on to the last four, but let's actually backtrack. Let's see if we can try everything up to that point. I'll just go ahead and play through it really slow. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so going into the last part, there's actually a couple notes left. And this is kind of like, again, thinking of it as a little pickup. So the last couple notes for this 15th measure is, to me, it just sounds like, this sounds like a pickup going. Going into the next section. So that's kind of why we stopped on that. So we're actually going to learn those last two notes of measure 15. So it's going to be open A to the 2nd fret. Okay, so, and then we'll kick into measure 16. But if you think in its entirety, 15 is going to be like this. Okay, so we think of the rhythm from the second half. Triplet, pluck, da. Right, they're all triplets. Triplet, triplet. Oh, let me clean that up. Triplet, triplet. Okay. Of course, you can always play this to fill as well. If you want to go a fermata on that harmonic, that's kind of cool. So it's up to you and how you want to interpret it. But the way that I play it is just going to be continual, no fermata, nothing like that. Okay, so we have open, 2nd, and then we're back to the C chord. Variation on the C to the G. Okay, so it's going to go. So start with the C. We're going to go strum 3 down, strum, play string 3, do a triplet. We're going to do a pull off, 5 to 3 on string 1, and then play the 3rd fret on string 2, which is already barred. So strum 3 triplet. Okay, so strum 3 pull off, and then string 2. So let's try that together. Ready, go. Strum 3 pull off, string 2. Go to the G. This time around, we need to make the G with the regular fingering shape. Same thing though. Strum 3 pull off, string 2. So strum 3, add the pinky, pull off 3 to 2, then hit string 2. Okay, those two together gives us the entire 16th measure. Ready, go. Awesome. Going into the next measure sounds like this. So again, same chord shapes, just variation. So make the B flat 6. We're going to go strum, lift the ring up, play 3rd on string 1, walk down, 6, 5. So the key difference here, 8th note rhythm. Okay, let's try that. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and. Okay, go into the G. So again, variation. We have strum 3 pluck. When you pluck, pluck strings 1 and 2 and do it as a staccato. Then remember that pickup that we talked about? That gets thrown in at the end there. Open 2nd. Okay, so the end, 3 and pluck, 2. If we try that entire 17th bar together, we get this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and triplet. Awesome. Backtrack, let's try 16 into 17. Okay, here we go. Ready, go. Nice. Now, the next part, again, we have variation. Okay, so make the C. We're going to go all triplets, eighth note triplets. 3, 2, 1, strum, 2, 3. That's the pattern. 3, 2, 1, strum, 2, 3. Go to the G. 3, 2, 1, strum, 2, 3. All right, let's try that. Ready, go. So the last measure is actually identical. B flat to D7 to G5. That G5, again, is a fermata. So let's try those last two measures, 18 into 19. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, now you can also add a retardando if you want. So I would add it over the G chord. Okay, so that's a really cool way to get a natural kind of slow down end of the tune, getting near the end of the tune feel. But let's do this now. Let's go ahead and let's try everything for theme 2. So we'll start from the pickup of measure 10. 1, 2, 3. So I played it without a retardando, but you get the idea right there. And let's talk about what happens for the outro now. Okay, so for our outro, we're literally going back to what we played for the intro. And it's just slight little variations here and there, and you're kind of just going to repeat and fade the music out. So I'm going to play through these 4 bars, and we'll break it down. Slight variations over the intro. And it repeats. So slight little variations. So the end of the measure that we played, 19, starts with the pickup, right? That little chromatic walk up to the open. Ba, ba. So that first measure, measure 20, is identical to everything we've done before. Going into 21. So you can see the first 3 notes are the same. So open, 3rd fret, plucking on that G chord. Instead of stopping there, you're going to hit the open G again, and then pluck, but give it a staccato. 1 and 2 and pluck. That's the only difference, adding a couple more hits. Ba-da, and then starting the pickup again. So we try the pickup into the first couple of outro. 1, 2, 3. Right? And the next one, so this is measure 22. Identical measure, going into 23, and this is going to be the only other variation we have. Throwing in a triplet, so it starts the same. 4, 3, pluck, 4, pluck, strum, and do a staccato. 4, 3, triplet, pluck. Or I'm sorry, strum for the last hit. So slight little variation, right? So 4, 3, pluck, 1 and 2, string 4, pluck. So 1 and triplet. So there's the first half. 1 and triplet. Then for beat 3, you can strum down and do it as a staccato. Okay, so let's try that. Ready, go. Okay, and then just start again. You can hear that I started to play softer, 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 until it gradually faded away. So that's how you do a fade out in real life, is that you just repeat those 4 bars for the outro, and then gradually start to play softer and softer, softer till you don't hear anything. So if I play through the outro, I'll play through it, those 4 bars, and then I'll start to fade, starting pretty much immediately on the 5th bar. So it sounds like this. Right, so you can hear it just gradually fading out. And that's pretty much the whole tune, guys. So let's see if we can try those 4 bars for the outro, and then we'll wrap this lesson up. 1, 2, 3. And then start to fade. Okay, so that's the entire tune. So the idea behind this song, again, was to introduce a new concept for songwriting. It's actually not new. We've done a few lessons on this before. I'll put a couple links to it. I'll put a link to Ghost Riders in the Sky. That's a really famous riff, and I took the same idea as this song. I took the melody from part of the melody from that song and then wrote like a complete new harmony and melody around it. So a really cool concept. But yeah, anyways, the point is that to take a melody that you love and use that as the springboard for creating your own composition. So it takes away the pressure, the scaredness of starting a new composition from scratch and gives you a springboard to write off of. Also helps you if you get in a songwriting rut. So just a really fun thing to do. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you do want to get the tabs to print off, keep for your records, that was available at this link, or you can go to the site and do a search for the song title. And don't forget too that on-screen tab viewer is there, so that really cool interactive tab player. You can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next lesson. Take care.